I stand in the silence, deafened by the echoes of the truth that flow from this knowing, a collection of the evidence and proof to trust in creation as itself through me aligns, to know that my wanting more is selfishly divine. I am seeking my good, and my good is my God. I am seeking my good, and my good is my God. I am. Church or a temple, on the ocean or a mountain kissed with snow, so many paths to God, for you are the only place to go, a being with no circumference, whose center is everywhere, for us only to receive the gifts it's longing to share. I am seeking my good, and my good is my God. I am seeking my good, and my good is my God. I am diving from the cliffs of circumstance to swim in your great abundance. I will not fight the current, but be carried into joy. I know I am seeking my good, and my good is my God. I am seeking my good, and my good is my God. I am seeking my good, and my good is my God. It's what's leading me, pushing me, urging me on. I am seeking my source, and my God is my source. It's my joy and my voice and my life-giving force. I am seeking my God. I am seeking my God. I am seeking my good, and my good is my God. It's what's leading me, pushing me, urging me on. I am seeking my good, and my good is my God. I am.
Yes, Dina. Thank you, Dina. So if you want that track, that's Margaret Owens. She is a New Thought singer from the center in Seattle. And so if you want to seek your good and, take Dina home or take Margaret home. Man, I love this. Seeking my good. So it's one of my favorite New Thought songs. So thank you for singing that. And I love it, seeking my good, and my good is my God. I mean, really, does it get any clearer than that? Oh, okay. All right. So, it's, as Emerson says, it's a being with no circumference, whose center is everywhere. I love how in the line that says, I'm diving from the cliffs of circumstance, i.e. conditions, all this stuff out here, to swim in your great abundance. And that's what we're talking about today. At least I am. I don't know about y'all. It's just swimming in this grand and glorious abundance. And, you know, we're priming the pump, and we're talking about abundance. And also in that same song, it says that this thing, whatever we choose to call it, God, Spirit, the Almighty, Heavenly Father, does not matter. It's like it's this... it only asks of one thing. It only asks us to receive. Imagine that. It only asks us to receive. That's what it says. And the gifts, its gifts that it's longings to share. So what is keeping us from receiving the gifts? Fear. Yeah. And I love it. Y'all participate now. You're with me. So... yes, and perhaps the real question is, who? Who's keeping us from it? Yeah, there you go. So our life's experience, our whole life experience up till now and now and now and now is the inner vision in which we hold for our life. It's the inner vision in which we hold within our own selves. And if we look from now to the next now moment, if we look out on the horizon and we're wanting to look on the horizon of our life, our experience of that is only going to be that which is limited or not to the confines of our own consciousness. So when we're looking out on that horizon, there's only one person to point at. And that's inward, in our own vision for what we want the rest of our life to be from this moment on. And so all month we're here to help bust up things, let go of things, invite things to come in, let it grow, let it flow, you know, the whole 9 yards. I would not miss a Sunday this month. If you missed last Sunday, watch it. At least you're here today. So the great news, if we come from Christian roots, is that this inner vision is that we can be renewed by the renewing of our own minds. And we are the only ones that can do it, and we can renew it right now. You with me? Let's renew right now. Cool. So this morning we're gonna have a greater understanding. I just affirm that we each have this greater understanding of how not to let the who and the what limit us, especially the who, and to let our abundance grow. So, throughout most of our life, I dare say all of our life, we've bought into the biggest bunch of hooey we could have, for the sake of the outpicturing of our own life. It probably didn't start, you know, before we were toddling and then crawling and maybe perhaps waddling. But when we started walking, it started. And we bought into this hooey that there is a God outside of us. We've bought into it. We've been working with it. At least I am. Maybe it's just me. And it's this thing called duality. And we've bought into it. So that's where we're going to begin this morning. To get our grips, our minds, our heart, our soul, you know, the spirit, soul, body of us, and to let go of this thing called duality so we can let all of our abundance grow. Okay, we're each a human individual, and we're sitting here this morning, we know that, and we're moving through the life, and yes, we're a human individual, but that's the very thing that actually limits us. Because the fact is that we are a divine individuality. That's what we are. And so anytime our mind tricks us or someone tells us or we buy into the hooey again, we have to come back to whatever it is for you. For me, it's the Father and I are one. The Father and I are one. To let go of this duality so that we actually know who we are. Ernest Holmes tells us that the only reason we are limited is that we have not allowed the divine within us to more completely demonstrate. God only wants us to receive. And so are we allowing this divine individuality as us to demonstrate and let it flow? So God, this eternal givingness, is here, and the gifts of God are limitless, for this is the absolute nature of God, and it is the absolute nature of us too. We are limitless in that which wants to pour through us, that which wants to be us. And so I and Dr. Peter were both reading this book for the first time. Who's reading this book with me for the first time or reading it? Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm not kidding. It's not a big book. It's not an expensive book. You've got to get this book. So Raymond Charles Barker, next to Ernest Holmes, is the master teacher of science mind. Okay? Many of us haven't read him. So this is what he says. And he just puts it out there, just like she said, like, boom! You ready? He, a minister of science and mind, wrote this. He says, this science doesn't tell you anything that you aren't already doing. It only informs you how you are doing it so you can produce what you want. Okay? I love this. This teaching, science mind, this teaching does not make you spiritual. So I'm just here to tell you, if you come here on a Sunday in order to be spiritual, don't show up anymore. Sorry. There isn't a church in the world which can make you spiritual. But he continues. If you can be made spiritual, then you aren't spiritual now. If you aren't now, you never will be. So hey, are y'all spiritual? Yes. Good. You are God's image now. Every person in the universe today is the complete operation of God. Think about that. Every person is a thinking, creative inlet and outlet of the action of infinite mind, infinite spirit, and infinite love. Wow. I had to read that several times to take in that much. Wow. And then he says, knowing this, you live accurately with precision, discernment, and specific results. You can say to one idea, no, and to the other idea, yes. They're equally important, folks. You select what you would like to have happen and reject what you do not. I and the Father are one. Right here it is. Now he continues. I really like this. You are God acting in the midst of flexible substance. Just get that on. Projecting into your experience the ideas of your own mind. Do not worry when forms go out of your world. You can produce more. Worry only when your thinking processes are confused. Okay, so, I love this. We are in the midst of this flexible substance, and I liken it to the limitless Play-Doh. Come on, get your limitless Play-Doh on. It's gooey. It's all around us. It's Play-Doh. And what do we get to do with Play-Doh? We get to play with it. We get to form what we want. We don't have to judge whether it looks good or not. We don't go, well, I didn't make that little bunny in, 3 seconds. It took me 30. Oh my gosh, not good. We can just mash it around and move it around and be in the Play-Doh of this infinite goo. Sometimes we're afraid to go, I want to make this. I want this to happen in my life. We're afraid of it. And so we don't even attempt it. Well, folks, really, if we make a bunny and we don't want a bunny anymore, guess what we get to do? And start again. I think I'll make a turtle. Really. You are God playing with this goo. You can quote me on that. You are God playing with this goo. So now we know who we are, okay? But the next step is we got to know what we want. Got to know you want to make a bunny. And you got to have a clear vision, and you have to have the end in mind. There has to be clarity in what we want. Law don't make confusion. Have clarity in what you want in any area and aspect of your life, okay? And we must have this term that tends to be complicated. I know when I first read it in that book, there's a whole chapter on it. I'm going to read from it today. Mental equivalent. What? What is that? We have to have a clear mental equivalent of what we want. Today, I am using a metaphor. This is your mental equivalent. I'm clear that I want this spool. It represents whatever you want, okay? So just get clear on something perhaps you want. Now, you can go from the macro, and you can say, well, I just want a job that pays me good. Or you can go, oh, no, I want a job where I love to be around everybody, and they love me, and they think I'm great, and I'm a sharp dresser, and they pay me more money than I can actually accept into my checking account, and I'm only going to work 4 hours a week, and, play with your goo. Or you could say, there's nothing wrong. I want a job, and I want it right now. And you might get $4 an hour. It's okay. But you basically have to conceive of the ultimate. This is a mental equivalent. It's no more than conceive of the ultimate idea for you. No one else. It's your life. It's your goo. So, the other thing is, when we think of this, we never have to focus on the process. We don't have to go, well, in order to get that job, I've got to, I better at least know 9 headhunters, and I got to put at least 200 resumes out, and I've got to do this, and I've got to wear the blue shirt and the black pants, and I have to show up at Thursday at 10 a.m. to make sure that this and that. And we are so caught up in the process, we have to get clear on, this is what I want. This is my ultimate idea of what I want. You with me? Good. So, for me, when I did this once, of course, it wasn't the only time I did this in my life, I was not happy in my current job. I sort of figured out I wasn't ever going to be happy in that job. I just was like, I'm gonna say no, and I'm going to go to a yes. And I got clear on what I wanted in sort of the macro and the micro. And I said, well, I want to go to a medical device startup because I was in medical device sales. I want to hit a startup where there's less than 20 people. I want to be on the ground floor. I want it to be in its marketplace, the best product, have a great name. And I want to have fun with the people that I work with. I want them to let me be myself, and and it's okay if I have to grow through the ranks, but I want unlimited income potential, no ceiling, okay? So now y'all know my former profession. And I was like, that is what I want. Well, bam, I got hired by this company called Game Ready, which had the best cold and compression device in the marketplace, $3,000 bucket of ice, and it squeezes your knee. Y'all get that? And I was employee number 7, and, you know, it was in Berkeley, California, and it was hip, and it was cool, and it was all about culture, and yada, 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 okay? So I had my idea. I didn't know how I was going to do it, and I did it, okay? So we have to have clarity, and we have to have a clear vision, and we do not need to know the how it's going to work. We just let it go. And it shall unfold. So, once you have the clarity of your desired outcome and you know what it is that you want in this goo, your desired experience, the next step that must occur, and I mean must, is we each must convince our own mind that it's already there. I got the spool. It's real. It's here. It's not a figment of my imagination, and we must believe. We must believe. And so it is not belief based upon the surface level, our little surface consciousness. We are talking subconscious, full embodiment belief. We must believe that it is already, the bunny's here. The spool is here. It is here. So from the chapter on mental equivalence in the Science Mind textbook, if you don't have that either, I'm going to share with you what Ernest Holmes says. And we hear this a lot from the master teacher. As ye believe, it shall be done unto you. The whole teaching of Jesus was based on the theory that we are surrounded by an intelligent law, which does unto each as he believes. He implied the necessity of faith, conviction, and acceptance. Faith, conviction, acceptance. This is the same as saying it must be measured out to us according to our own measuring. It must be measured out to us according to our own measuring. We must not only believe, we must know that our belief measures the extent and degree of our blessing. If our belief is limited, only a little can come to us because that is as we believe. We call this the law of mental equivalence. There you are. So, whatever the degree of our inward conviction is what we will direct outwardly through our consciousness. So whatever we inwardly believe shows up like a mirror. A mirror. As within, so without. We don't stand in front of a typical mirror and we stand there and I'm 4 times bigger or 2 times smaller. Okay, I know what y'all are thinking. But it's totally mirrored exactly as we are in front of it. It's the same in which the way this law of mental equivalent works. So not only must we have a mental equivalent of the thing we desire, but we must have unwavering faith, conviction, and acceptance. Faith, conviction, and acceptance of that very thing. So unwavering faith is this mental attitude which is so convinced of its own idea. It's just so convinced that any contradiction to that is unthinkable, unacceptable. So when I took this job with Game Ready, I had a mental equivalent of one of the key things in wanting this job was to have unlimited earning potentials. Just as I got started and just as I learned the product and just as I thought I was ready to really launch, 2007, 2008, 2009. Y'all remember those years? There was something going on then, right? Bam! It just tanked. Everywhere you turned on the news, everything, it was like the economy is awful. There was all this awfulness. It was like, everything was shrinking monetarily. I'm like, I'm going to make the most money I've ever made in my life. And it's like, I had unwavering faith. Just so happened in 2007, in January of that year, I stepped into a Science of Mind community. Any accident? That I learned unwavering faith, mental equivalence, it's called foundations. I put it all to a test, I put it all to work, and it didn't matter what was going on outside of me. I mean to tell you, I did not get promoted and I did not change jobs, and I made 2 to 3 times what I could ever imagine. I remember one quarter, we had this, you always have a quota, and I had salespeople by that time, and they were just like, wasn't going to make it. I didn't care. I had unwavering faith. I had that mental equivalent. The last week of the quarter, somehow, miraculously, $500,000 came in sales. We busted through the quota. I got a nice $300 bottle of champagne from the chairman of the board. And that year 2, I made, based upon what they were supposed to pay me, they couldn't pay me all that they actually owed me. And I had to negotiate what I would accept. Because I put these principles to work to unleash my financial abundance in my life. However, what happened is, with that unwavering faith, I had to have a mental equivalent. Excuse me for a second. And I had to grow that mental equivalent. And I had to stay vigilant and keep that vision and hold that mental equivalent so I could go from there to there. Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm no different than you. I've taken the same classes that are offered to you. I've taken them, and I've put them to work. So, this is how I did this. Ooh. He goes on to say, in mental equivalence, right after that, he says, how much life can any person experience? As much as he or she can embody. There is nothing fatalistic. This is the great news. There is nothing fatalistic about this. We are so constituted that we can continuously increase our embodiment. All right? We grow in grace, as it were. We grow in power. And theoretically, there should be no limit to the growth. Stomping for emphasis. We can only have what we can take. God is the eternal givingness. The gifts of God are limitless, for this is the nature of God. God is our source. I love this out of Raymond's book. Jesus said, quote, "Give us this day our daily bread." How many have heard that all their life? Give us this day our daily bread. He told his followers that they would receive as much bread as they expected. God is our source. Give us this day our daily bread. We can receive that bread as much as we expect. But the key is, he did not say what the size of the loaf is. Excuse me a second. Where'd my spool go? I don't care. Jesus did not say what the size of the loaf is, or how many loaves you can eat, or have, or share, or give away. How do you think he made the loaves for 5,000? He's no different than we are. Oh, I really trust that something is waking up in each and every one of us, including me in this moment. He never, ever said the size of the loaf, what it had to look like, how many loaves you can receive. So we grow in our abundance. And again, how do we, because we're here, how can we go from, and guess what? There are a dozen outside. There's not just one of these. Go look at them. Well, the truth is, Sunday mornings are meant for inspiration. Sunday mornings are meant for community, inspiration, classes, music, pick me up. But to move and to grow our abundance in all areas of our lives, classes takes us from here to here to here. And not just taking them and not just being there and say, I took a class, but to read it, discern it, ask questions about it, meddle with it, go, what is he talking about, this mental equivalent? Practice it, be with it, because we can play in this goo as much as we want. So I am insisting, for the sake of your life, not mine, that if you haven't taken foundations, get in it. It starts Tuesday with Dr. Peter, the best teacher you could ever hope to have. True. There's a daytime class for people that can't come at night. And there's a nighttime class. And we've made it so it's $45. And we send all that to home office. We keep zero of that. And then it's a love offering. But it's so that you can go from here to here to here. And then if you've taken foundations or it's been years, take it again. I love teaching it because I take it again. Then get in another class and get in another class. If you're wondering why what you're hearing from us is not manifesting, get in a class. And consciousness. Well, that was my next lead-in. I'm here, right here. I got it. She's so excited, and she's not teaching it. Building a healing consciousness. Christine Volkmer and Sherry Wood, our practitioners, are going to teach this class. They're so excited about this class. It starts Tuesday. They only have 2 people signed up. This is consciousness. Come learn this. I mean it. For the sake of your life, I want to celebrate all of the abundance that's in your life, not just financial. I want to celebrate it. And also, we are teaching what the mystics knew. So if you want to hear about the mystic Jesus and others. And then I'm teaching spiritual economics in October. Look at these classes. Check them out. It is by Eric Butterworth. It's one of my top 5 books. Spiritual economics. I'm teaching the class. Why? Because I'm going to get me a bigger spool. So,
me too.
So, we can build our belief. We can build our faith. We can build our acceptance. And then the law must mirror back to us what we believe. It absolutely must. There is not a single God, divine, individuality self that is left out. Trust me. So it doesn't happen on its own. How many people can build the muscle in their body without actually lifting weights, going to a gym, hiring a personal trainer, walking, running, doing something to build it? It just doesn't. I mean, I know there's some contraption out there that you put on your waist and it's supposed to go. I doubt that works. We have to build it. And the moment we stop, what happens? Atrophy. But here's the great news. The moment you pick up that weight again, it could be 2 years, 3 years later. Man, is it quick to come back, isn't it? So if you've sort of fallen off your muscle building, meaning building consciousness, understanding that you are the most magnificent, individualized expression of the one that it has ever shown up as. Makes me weep how beautiful you each are. Then get in a class. Now, would you like to grow something now and not wait? Okay, get your spool that you had in your mind. Get in your mind and then look inside the pulse. You've got one of these. It's a card. Look inside of it. If you didn't grab a pulse, you snuck through our greeters and raise your hand and get one. Think of something that you want to grow. Get as clear on it in this moment as you can. Because I'm kinesthetic, I like to stand when I speak the word. I invite you to stand if you want and are able. And you don't have to. It's your goo. All right. Don't look at the kids. Look at the card. We're going to speak this in your own individualized way with such power and presence of knowing that you are the divine God in action. Let us begin. I know I am now at the threshold of all good, wisdom, and truth. All the good I can embody is now mine. I have only to open the portals of my soul and accept that which is ready to express through me. I expect fully and emphatically the answer to my prayer today. Right now do I possess this thing I so greatly desire. I remove my fear of lack and negation, for it is the only barrier which stands in the way of my experience of good. I alone can remove it, and I do remove it now. In this moment, my good comes to me, enough to spare, to give, and to share. I can never be exhausted. My good can never be depleted, because that source from which my good comes is inexhaustible. Today, in this moment, the law responds to my thought. My word is one of affirmation, rising from the knowledge that the good, the enduring, and the true are eternalities in my experience. I cannot be apart from that which is my good. My good is assured me by God, the indwelling essence of my life. And so it is.